I'd like to call our Johnston County Board of Education to order. At this time, Ms. Jackson, there are 6 board members present. Mr. Byrd is on vacation, so I would like to call on Ms. Lynn Andrews for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Carroll.
Let us pray. Oh, holy God, we come to you tonight with grateful hearts that you've called each of us to serve in this manner in this season of each of our lives. And as we gather here as a body of workers for Johnston County Public Schools, we pray that you would continue to watch over and guide us and direct us. Would you continue to bless and watch over our students and our staff, our community, our state, and our nation. We pray for your discernment in the business that takes place here tonight. May you use our hands to do your work. May you use our feet to walk the path you lay before us. Would you use our eyes to see your will? We pray this in every prayer in the name of your Son, our Savior, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Bracy.
Mr. Chairman, I ask that we enter into executive session for the purposes stated on the agenda as outlined in General Statutes 115C-402, 143-318.11A, 3C, and 115C-319.
I entertain a motion to go into closed session. Motion by Mr. Wooten, second by Mr. Johnston. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries 6-0. We'll enter closed session. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Johnston County Board of Education. We have already had our closed session, followed with the invocation and pledge of allegiance. So at this time, I'll ask for approval of the June 8th, 2021 regular session minutes. Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Johnston. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries 6-0. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve our June 25th, 2021 special session minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Andrews, second by Mr. Wooten. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 6-0. Entertain a motion to approve our July 2nd, 2021 special session minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Andrews, second by Mr. Johnston. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 6-0. At this time, I will go around and see if there's any adjustments to our agenda, starting with Mr. Johnson.
No adjustments.
Mr. Carroll,
No adjustment.
Ms. Sessoms,
None.
Ms. Andrews,
No adjustments.
Mr. Wooten.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to move policy 5100, Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct, from 9.2 to 6.4. And also, I'd like to add human resources under 9C1 for personnel recommendations.
Okay, so you've got moving up policy 5100,
From 9.2 to 6.4.
6-4. Okay, and also,
Human resources from, just add human resources to 9C1 personnel.
all right,
That's all I have.
I entertain a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Andrews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 6-0. At this time, I'll call on Mr. Wooten for the Finance Committee update.
I have no comments other than the expectation of being fully funded for our recommendation to the county commissioners. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. Ms. Andrews.
We have conducted a couple of interviews for potential board attorneys, so we're still looking into that information, but have interviewed recently 2 candidates.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sessoms.
Yes, Policy Review Committee will be meeting this Thursday at 2 o'clock here in the boardroom, and we will be continuing our alignment work with the North Carolina School Boards Association.
Thank you, Ms. Sessoms. I would just like to just have a comment from the chair as well. There's been a lot of talk around our state in regards to what to do with masks in the fall from our students and staff. CDC has made some changes over the past couple of weeks, and as we get more information, I believe that it's our duty to make sure that we keep our students and staff safe, but more importantly, give them an opportunity of choice at that appointed time. And I just hope this board will be willing to do that at that time and make sure that we allow the parents and students to have a choice in that matter. I know that there's already other counties that have already started making these decisions outside of anything going on, and I'm hearing rumors that the state is going to be making some updates to their toolkit in the coming days. So I just want this board to be prepared to look into these options and make sure that we look after Johnston County Public Schools in a capacity of choice. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a statement on that. There's a lot of board members that supported students and staff going back to school during this whole process, way before we ever did go back to school. I'm the same on my thoughts on the mask are the same. I feel like it should be a parental choice and a staff member's choice to wear a mask to school each and every day, and it should be their choice to not wear a mask to school. each and every day. Now I hear the communication is that the governor is going to be coming out with some new guidelines next week, or CDC or the health department, Ms. Pearson. I'm encouraged that a decision is going to, or some changes are going to be coming within the next week. Whether they come or not, I urge this board that whether we have any changes or not, within the next week, we come together as a board and give the parents and the staff an option to wear a mask to school. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. I would like to say too, while we're talking about masks, in the governor's executive order, this building is not classified as a school building setting for students. Therefore, we are not under that order to wear masks in this building. That's why this board and our visitors do not have that. They don't have that just mandate to wear a mask. If you feel like you want to wear a mask, that's still your preference, but that's why this building is not under the same executive order as our school buildings are from students and staff. But I agree, Mr. Wooten, that regardless, we need to take this seriously and definitely include Dr. Pearson in our conversations. She's been an advocate for us since day one of this pandemic, and just to keep her up-to-date information from a medical standpoint at our fingertips.
Well, not to make light of the situation, but I think pop artist Future said it best when he said mask on, mask off. From day one, I've advocated from giving people a choice. And yes, I do appreciate everyone making that stance. And unfortunately, we are where we are. A decision does need to be made soon because we have people in the parking lot who want a decision. And I realize that we have 7 different personalities, and Mr. Bird's not here tonight, but that does need to be heard in a expeditious. I mean, we got to expedite that decision.
I am up to, if a new toolkit comes out, Mr. Johnston, I am more than willing to call a special session for us to take up this as a vote from our board.
My question is, what if a toolkit doesn't come out?
I will speak to that, and having had conversations on the county calls for emergency medical services, Dr. Pearson last week is on that committee that works with DHHS on the toolkit. So we're very fortunate to have our health director be involved in that process. And she has assured the county manager, the county commissioners, and myself, and the town leaders that this toolkit will be coming out next week. And that has also been publicized on local news media. So the toolkit will be coming out next week. I think we would be remiss to not include our own public health director and what she has to say before we make any decisions. I am all about parents having choice as long as it does not endanger the lives of the people around them. And so I also must say that I have heard an equal number of parents on one side of the issue, equal to the same number of parents on the other side of the issue. Just like with all of our COVID challenges in the last year and a half, it is a very split community. And anytime that I am asked to make a decision, I want all of the information, reliable information that I can get, not what's on Facebook, but what's actually coming from the people that we charge with providing data and information. And so once that's been made available, I'll be much more comfortable in making a decision.
Well, I'll weigh in. I think that if the toolkit's coming, and I've had a career that I've followed science, I've followed health, and I have seen over my career that by and large it has prevented a lot of problems. We take medicine because we're ill. We don't argue with the doctor when you see results. So I think, you know, we can argue about a lot of things, but let's hear what the toolkit says. Let's look at what CDC says, and then let's make, I think, informed decisions based on the overall health of everyone. I have stated plainly that, you know, I think we should follow CDC guidelines because that is the best information from the smartest people in healthcare. It's been politicized, but the history says if you listen to them, we'll all come out better and we'll get out of this stuff quicker. So let's just listen to see, hear what the toolbox says, and then let's discuss it, and we'll, like you say, there's 7 members here. We'll vote. Let's take into consideration the health and well-being of everyone.
And not to be disagreeable, but do it in a respectful fashion. I think that is exactly what, when you said we could argue, I don't think we need to argue. I think we need to vote. I mean, we represent these folks. We need to make a decision. The worst thing we can do is continue on not making a decision, waiting for somebody else. So I get it. I understand. I hear exactly what you said, but we need to make a decision.
And
And
I
I think
agree.
we will make a decision when we get all the information. Let's wait till we get all the information. Why get ahead of the horse, you know, ahead of the cart, ahead of the horse, if you will. So
We talk about horses. This isn't our race. This is the parents' race. All right. And they have the right to choose. I mean, if we're going to throw analogies out, I mean, if they have the right to choose and they want to know. So I think that's just where I want to go with it. I mean, no disrespect.
Mr. Chairman, I agree that, you know, whether it comes or not, the information that we need to be setting a meeting to make a decision between all set. There are 7 board members, but either way, whether we get the information or not, we need to come back together and make a decision whether not to wear a mask or optional or whatever. So.
Mr. Byrd is on vacation. I'll be more than happy to reach out to you, Mr. Byrd, and see when he's available. If we have to do it virtual, we'll do it virtual, but and we'll set a meeting for next week and make that decision. Is that fair for everybody?
Yeah, I agree with that. I certainly understand parents wanting a choice. Would just like to hear what they, you know, the DHSS, the toolkit is a guide for leaders, for school leaders. And so let's just hear what they have to say. But I certainly understand that parents want a choice, and let's just see where we go from there. But I'm willing to meet whenever.
Thank everybody for their input. This is, you know, it's just another decision that we have to make as a board. We've made some tough decisions about staying out of school, going back to school, and things of that nature. This is just another part of that. But we'll definitely see what the toolkit provides, and we'll still set a meeting regardless of what the toolkit provides, and we'll discuss it as a board.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on, I'd like to bring up an issue. Mr. Johnston has sent a letter to the media about some issues, and in that he makes some fairly charged accusations. And he states that, you know, there absolutely needs to be a policy about divisive material. And says, why did we wait until county commissioners attacked us about it, or some? What about, he questions, what about the numerous editorials, the emails and what have you, that we've seen and criticized while we waited? Now, I will say this, you're a member of the policy committee. You're a member of this Board of Education. During this same time, you heard the same thing we did. But you did not bring, to my knowledge, to this board any comment about, look, we need to address this thing. So I question, why is it that, one, you would criticize the board for dealing with something that you said you absolutely think there needs to be a policy, and, you know, jump in after it's a big brouhaha and not bring something to the board that you serve on?
I took courage to say that. So I actually have a policy I wrote this weekend that we probably should have wrote a long time ago. So I'll go ahead and give you a copy of it. No, I'll go ahead and give you a copy of it right now.
It's too late. You've jumped out and you criticized. We have done some work and you're coming at after everything's over with. To be
Mr.
in
Carroll,
the
what work
paper.
have you done? You've cut and paste, sir. You've cut and paste. I've wrote a policy. I put it out there. Here it is. You got a copy, Ms. Jackson. I forwarded you an email at 5 o'clock with this policy. Will you please attach it to the minutes and make it public? Because no policy has been written. And I'm absolutely right. Nothing moved until the county commissioners held $7.9 million up and said, you're going to write a policy. To my knowledge, we haven't written a policy. We went and borrowed some cut and paste nonsense, and we're going to try to pass that off. But I wrote one.
We had a policy that spoke to the very issue of what should be done in terms of the classroom. You know, for us to have to come back and try to fight with a board member who is looking, I guess, political show.
No, I'm not looking political show. I have a track record of doing what's right, Mr. Carroll, contrary of what you want people to believe in here. And this is theater, and I'm shocked that you would step to me like this. However, I have my policy ready. If the board members would care to look at it, I'd be more than happy to share it. But what you're doing is unproductive. I called the system out for requiring certain things be implemented into our education system for $7.9 million. You did not move. No one moved on this board until someone said, we are not funding you unless you do this. That is not debatable. That's not debatable. So now, instead of doing something about it, you take your time to come to me. So I tell you what, I've got you right here, Mr. Carroll. I've got the policy. What else can I do? I wrote the policy. What more do you want me to do,
You
sir?
maybe could have been more productive by bringing the policy when you are saying to us that you should have known 6 months ago, 8 months ago. We hadn't heard a word from you until tonight. Isn't it interesting that you've got a policy tonight and you've been on this board much longer than I have in bringing
The
it?
policy
So
was
the
called
question
for
is,
June 21st.
why-
That's when the policy was
well, why
come.
didn't
And
you come with it? Why didn't you come with it? Give us an answer of why didn't you come with it?
June 21st, it was called for. Mr. Sutton said in the meeting that we would discuss it. Ain't nobody called me. So I'm out here doing it and sharing it with you guys today. So what have you done? Besides coming to me all salty, what have you done?
No, I'm coming with you because you have indicated that you've known all along there should be a policy. You're telling us you've already known. You've heard the emails just didn't come since June 23rd.
Absolutely.
that.
And we should have
And
been
you've
working
done-
on it, and we
you-
haven't,
you've
so
done-
I did it.
You're on the policy committee. How come you didn't bring it rather than wait till it's all in
I've been on the
newspaper?
policy committee for like 4 months, Mr. Carroll. And we are going through hundreds of policies. And one that has not written doesn't get written overnight. And when you put a 30-day time limit on it, somebody's got to do something. And to my knowledge, we haven't done anything. So I did it myself. So you're criticizing somebody for putting in work, and you're sitting here with your little pink highlighter highlighting the article that I put out there? No, sir, I'm not going to have that. And I would suggest you move on from this unless you got anything else pertinent you want to say.
I do have more pertinent information. You also have attacked us for receiving favors and kickbacks.
Okay.
Bring your proof. Your evidence.
All right, the proof is in the contract that you were trying to get approved in closed session last time, giving somebody $185,000 a year that Mr. Sue was kind enough to email me. So I'll go ahead and forward that out to the local news media too.
And I have no problem with that because I brought it to board members. I've taken it out to central services or facility service for them to look at. This is a product that I think we need to do. It's a 5-year plan. It is a
Should have been
maintenance
placed
plan.
out for bid.
And-
It exceeds the $90,000 mark. You went to a consultant that you're familiar with and got a $185,000 contract, tried to get it in here, and got all salty again whenever the board wouldn't approve it. Somebody call me a liar right now. Somebody in this room call me a liar. That's true.
I'm certainly
No,
not
that's true.
calling you a liar on that. I'm telling you that we need to move on it because county commissioners are asking us about a bond issue. They're looking for information. Now, let me ask you this. Just because we have a friend, does that make it a handout or what is it, favor?
Just because you have a friend, that's all the more reason not to do it in closed session when it should initially been put in open session for the public to see anyway at $185,000 a year. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. So you just said you brought your friend in here with a contract for $185,000, tried to get it approved, and no, I shot that down. And I made the public aware of it. So now you go print out an article, highlight some stuff, and now you're trying to step to me. I think you just lost one, sir. I think you just lost one.
What we've got is here, how about this? If, this is hypothetical. If I have a friend that maybe works here and I've worked with closely, and let's say they've come up for a promotion, and you decide, hey, when they come up, and maybe our people administration has said, hey, let's give them a 15% raise. And you jump in and you say, hey, whoa, no, I think they need a 30% raise. And you push that even over the objection of possibly a member and get that done. Would that fall in the same category of favors and handouts, or is that something you wouldn't agree with?
No, I don't agree with that, because people who work in this district for this district deserve more. The consultants, the lobbyists, the people entrenched in politics, they don't deserve anything. So the people that do the work in this district that make next to nothing deserve that money. That's who I advocate for.
Well, it's funny that you in the past have had heartburn giving large salaries to people when others in the same thing cannot get the privilege of having that. So, you know, you couldn't look yourself in the mirror giving those salaries, but
You're right. I
you
can't look
don't
myself in
think
the
that
mirror
this
giving somebody
meets the same
who makes
category.
$100,000 a year, an extra $15,000, $20,000. I can go to bed and sleep well at night that I know that somebody who makes right around 30 G's a year, I can give them $10,000 or $15,000 because they make 45. I can live with that. I can live with that. But
You can
Mr.
make the
Johnston and
decision as to
Mr. Carroll.
where or not
Mr.
this
Johnson,
is
Mr.
it.
Carroll,
why'd you let him do this anyway? I'm gonna just
Mr.
call. Why are
Johnson.
you letting him do this anyway? This is ridiculous.
Mr. Johnson and Mr. Carroll, I appreciate your comments, but Mr. Johnson too, just to state about the CRT, no, I'm not, but you said, well, hasn't anybody done anything? The night that came up at the county commissioners meeting, I do recall a conversation. You called me and said, we don't need a CRT policy, so I'm confused.
That's
now,
right.
but-
We need another policy because of the stigma associated with it. You need a policy to address the concerns being brought about from the community, Mr. Sutton.
Okay.
And if we're going
Mr.
to talk about
Johnson,
that meeting, you came in here about 30 minutes before talking about, all
Mr.
right,
Johnson, you stated we did not need a CRT policy, period.
we need a policy to address the concerns of the community.
We will move forward at this time.
Anybody else?
We will move forward at this time, Mr. Johnson, with special recognitions.
Good evening, Dr. Bracy and Chairman Sutton, Vice Chair Sessoms, members of the board, Mr. Sue. We typically don't get to come to you in July with student recognitions, but this year we had a couple athletes who have recently competed and were quite successful at the state level. So we have them and their families here with us this evening. Families, if this is your first time at our board meeting, you are welcome to come behind the board, take photos of them as they're being recognized. Mr. Blisco will be over here in just 1 second. He is Johnston County's new athletic director, so it's my privilege to introduce him to you now as he brings our students forward.
Good evening, Chairman Sutton. Good evening, Lady Vice Chair Terry Sessoms, Dr. Bracy, and the rest of the Board of Education. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm pleased to speak about athletic recognitions. Tonight we'll be recognizing 3 student athletes that have had individual successes in this spring sports season. This group being recognized tonight also signifies the conclusion of the 2020-21 athletic calendar. At both the high school and middle schools around the county, we were very happy that we were able to offer something for all the student athletes. At this time, I'd like to thank the Board of Education on behalf of all the student athletes, coaches, and site-based leadership for the continued support in athletics. I would also like to make the board know that the community was outstanding and the student athletes upheld the high standards of Johnston County in athletics all this year. The motto of high school athletics was, "We are in this together," and I feel Johnston County athletics and its supporters embodied this throughout the whole year. Dear board, the first recognition on the agenda is for Ariana Daly, who graduated this spring at Clayton High School. Ariana is being recognized as the NCHSSA 3A Girls 400-meter dash individual state champion. The 3A event was held at North Carolina A&T on June 26th. Ariana crossed the finish line in first by 0.6 of a second faster than the runner-up to claim her title, which is impressive in the 400. Her final recorded time was 56.91 seconds. Also on that day, she finished fifth in the 200-meter dash, 1 second away from the pace to beat in that. And then the 4x4 relay, her and her teammates finished fifth. Clayton overall finished fifth out of 47 teams competing, with 18 scoring events to find out where their place was. Some other accomplishments athletically on the track while at Clayton High School was including multiple conference championships and GNRC all overall championships throughout her high school career. You may also recognize her as from the May board meeting when she was honored as a superintendent student leader. So she will be attending Clemson University and continuing her education and athletics participation in track at the Division I level. Ariana is a great representation of what a student athlete is all about on and off the field, court, tracks, and all around the county. So Ariana, congratulations. I'm very proud of you, very proud of you. Let me go around.
There you go. You ready?
Next, I would like to discuss another accomplishment from a Johnston County student athlete at this time. This athlete cannot be here tonight, but it's rising seer Keziah Stone from Cleveland High School. He cleared an impressive 6 foot 6 inches at the state championship. He was unable to attend tonight in person, but Keziah had an awesome day as a junior at the state championships. He finished third in the 100-meter dash and fifth in the 200-meter, on top of winning the state title in the high jump. So we're very proud of Keziah, and it's evident that he's worked extremely hard while at Cleveland High School. And it'll be very interesting as he has another year of eligibility in our county, and we look forward to watching him continue. Let's give a round of applause for Keziah. The last recognition I have for tonight is another Cleveland Ram as we celebrate Laura Thompson for winning the 2021 NCHSSA Women's Wrestling Statewide Invitational. As a sophomore, she finished runner-up in 2020, so for her to go back this year and have the ability to perform, we're very excited for that and that she was able to accomplish what she did. She claimed her championship with a pin in the second period. Laura did not give up a single point throughout the whole tournament, so her defense was stout. So, but she does not only excel on the mat, but in the classroom. She has impressive marks. She's currently top 20 in her class out of over 400 students. She's a 2021 junior marshal and is a member of the Unified Club and the Key Club. She also has been involved in softball while at Cleveland High School. Her postgraduate plans are to attend the Air Force Academy, and she's working on that currently, and we wish her all the best of luck with that endeavor. So, everybody, congratulations, Laura Thompson.
And that is all the special recognitions we have for you this evening. Thank you.
At this time, I will call on advisory appointments, starting with Ms. Essems.
It is my pleasure and privilege to announce the following recommendation from Principal Dana Jernigan. She has 2 current advisory council members who wish to renew their terms on the Benson Middle School Advisory Council. These individuals are Tammy Dudley and Paul Boucher. And as I said, they have been approved by the principal and fellow advisory board members to renew their terms as advisory members.
Thank you, Ms. Essems. I will let your recommendation stand as our motion, and I will call on Ms. Andrews at this time.
Mr. Chairman, Principal Sarah Reynolds has 4 current advisory members who wish to renew their terms on the Cleveland Middle School Advisory Council. They are Yvette Harris, Kelly McGonnell, Jennifer Talentio, and Etna Hinton. And they've been approved by the principal and fellow board members to renew their term as advisory members. Their 3-year term will be from 2021 to 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. I'll let your recommendation represent our second. At this time, I will call on Mr. Wooten.
Mr. Chairman, Innovation Academy at South Campus, Principal Kelly Johnston has submitted the renewal of 2 advisory council members. Chris Oliver and Tony Braswell will renew for a 3-year term. Also, I have Wilson Mills Elementary. Principal Jones asked for renewal for 3 of her advisory council members to renew their 3-year term: Alicia Hellis, Dawn Edmonds, and Shannon Macedo. So it's encouraging to know that both of these schools have advisory council members that are renewing their terms for 3 years. So we appreciate their commitment to their schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. In Mr. Byrd's absence, I will read his recommendations, starting with Riverwood Elementary. Principal Lee White has 3 new members for approval and 2 current advisory members who wish to renew their terms on the Riverwood Elementary School Advisory Council: Robin Vaughn, Joshua Quinn for renewals, Janet Lorenzo, Stephanie Morenci, and Elaine Horton, new members, following with a 3-year term each from 2021 to 2024. And then Riverwood Middle School Principal Sharon Bryant has Mr. Kurt Hallinger has been approved, and she recommends to appoint Kurt Hallinger on the Riverwood Middle School Advisory Council for a 3-year term from 2021 to 2024. And last, we have Mr. Carroll.
I have from Principal Jennifer Schwartz at West Johnston High School, 2 reappointments, Heather Pinnica and Brenda Harley, both for a 3-year term from 21 through 24.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries 6-0.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
you missed the adjustment to the agenda under 6-4.
Thank you.
So if we could go back and
Yes, we
do
can.
the
Yes, at this time, we will,
policy 5100.
policy 5100, we'll call on Dr. David Pierce. Thank you, Mr. Wooten.
Good evening, Chairman Sutton, Lady Vice Chair, Ms. Sessoms, Dr. Bracy, and members of the board. Tonight we have Policy Code 5100, Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct. Policy 5100 was last amended on August 14th, 2018. This policy outlines the Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct for all Johnston County Public School employees. The second paragraph has been amended to add, instructional staff and other school system employees will not utilize methods or materials that would create division or promote animosity among students, staff, and the community. Staff shall not teach social theories outside of the North Carolina standards of any kind to students unless approved by the North Carolina State Board of Education and legislated by the North Carolina General Assembly. The recommendation is that the Johnston County Board of Education approve this amendment to the Policy 5100 Code of Ethics and Standards, and this item is presented for information at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we give temporary approval to Policy 5100 Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct based on exigent circumstances as granted by Board Policy 1500, number 6. By taking this action, this policy would be effective today.
So we have a motion to approve this under exigent circumstances tonight. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Carroll. Any questions or comments?
Absolutely. I have submitted the policy I've composed to Ms. Jackson. I think it is far more effective, superior, and it addresses a lot more in specific nature. I would appreciate that being approved. Or if you're going to temporarily approve this and suspend the policy, I'd appreciate what I compose to be reviewed at a later date.
I don't understand what you just said.
I appreciate that. You're going to temporarily suspend your policy to give approval to this based on exigency. Is that what I heard? That's what the motion is. I would appreciate the policy that I composed to be reviewed at a later date because I'm guessing this is what you all have done to address what the county commissioners have asked for. Am I correct in that?
Let me answer your question. On the June 21st night, I gave them confirmation that I would go back to Ms. Sessoms, who is the chair of the policy committee, to review any policy that we currently had to see if there was a policy that we could amend to expedite the process. And she reviewed many, many different policies over that time. And that was basically what I told the county commissioners. That was the information that I gave to.
So not adopt a specific policy.
That was not discussed.
Well, I'd appreciate a review of the policy I've submitted.
Mr. Johnson, as you well know, being a member of the Policy Review Committee, you are always welcome to submit policies to the committee for us to review before it goes to before the full board. But I'm always open and welcome to having you bring that to our Policy Review Committee meeting.
And is this going to be temporary based on exigency, or is this going to be more of a permanence thing? Because typically with exigent circumstances, you go for a temporary fix and then provide something at a later date to suffice for the long haul.
Not always, sir. Not
Well,
always, sir. This would be to adopt this policy as written.
And that would be the end of it.
Yes, sir, until we have further adjustments that come before the Policy Review Committee.
Any other questions or comments?
So we are doing this on are we planning to adopt this permanently?
Anytime that we adopt a policy or vote to adopt policy, it is policy until there's another amendment made.
So we have a motion and a second to adopt the changes on policy, the amended changes to policy 5100.
So what Mr. Johnson is asking for is a separate thing.
Yes.
If this is going to be the requirement that we're meeting based on the county commissioner's desire to fund us at that 7.9 million, and we meet the requirement that they've set forth in their meeting, then I'm asking that we do something different. We look at the policy I wrote because I feel like it's more complete. I feel like it's a better policy, and we hadn't had.
Ronald, this policy, the title of this policy is your name.
No, ma'am.
Is the acronym
No,
of your
ma'am.
name.
That is not the title of the
But
policy.
that's what you gave us.
That is not the
I
title
mean,
of the policy.
I'm not
Ms.
adopting
Jackson,
anything that the acronym is your name.
That is an acronym used to make points. Ms. Jackson, the copy she has, does not have that. That is an acronym used to make points, Ms. Andrews. Absolutely. No, the points are in the paper, ma'am.
Yeah, I get it. And a lot of your policies deal with character traits that we deal with in our school system.
Yes, ma'am. It is. That's right. It is the character traits that we deal with in our school system, and I would encourage everybody to review it. Everyone should review that policy and find disagreement with it. It is a good policy, and regardless of what has been said up here tonight, review it with an objective mind. It is a good policy, no matter how you feel about me or whatever. It is decent.
Just take it through the committee.
That was going to be you meet Thursday is my understanding, so that would be something that the policy committee could review at that time and make decisions upon if they want to move forward with it with the full board. So at this time, we still have the motion and second on the policy 5100.
Well, and from what I understand, in reading the revision of this policy 5100, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we are instructing teachers to teach the standard course of study. and to stay within the realms of what the state requires us to teach. And pretty much that's what I understand this to be. And that's what, as a school board, we are hired to provide for our students in Johnston County a sound basic education. And DPI, the Department of Public Instruction, has designed those programs for us, and the state legislature approves them. And so that's what we need to be teaching. And I understand completely the concerns of people, but this policy is saying teach the standard course to study. Don't bring in everything else.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. And you're exactly right. And Dr. Bracey has said this numerous times in meetings that if this is being taught, he would love to have more information about it and where it's being taught so that we can address it. And Dr. Bracey, have you had anybody come forward to state that it's being taught? Okay, but at least they're listening and they're bringing it to your attention, so I appreciate that. All right.
Well, and I would say this, we have a mammoth goal of academic achievement in Johnston County, and that's our goal. I mean, and we need to meet the needs of all our children, and we have high standards for achievement, and that's where we need to be going. And when we do that as a system, we are going to be meeting the needs of individual children, and we have to provide the resources that teachers need and the training they need to work with all students in our county. And the diversity that lies within it. So that is my hope. That is what this board has been charged to do, and that is my hope that we are going. That's our goal, and that's what we're going to do.
Thank you. Totally agree. We have to teach the standards, and we must move Johnston County Public Schools back to the top where it belongs. And the only way we can do that is to focus on that and not focus on items that are not being taught. And if they are being something out there, we need to know about it so that we can make adjustments on it, bring it to Dr. Bracey's attention. So at this time, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of policy 5100 being amended, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No? Motion carries 6-0. I was just double checking over there, Mr. Johnson. All right, Dr. Bracey.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I ask that the board approve consent items 9A, 1A through 9A, 1E.
Motion by Mr. Carroll,
Second.
second by Mr. Wooten. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right. Mr. Moore.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Bracey, Mr. Sue. Tonight I have two items. My first one is for an easement for Johnston County Public Utilities and for the Archer Lodge Water District to erect a elevated water storage tank on the south corner of the property at Archer Lodge Middle School. The site plan and the draft deed of easement are attached, and the easement and tank has no impact to the school operations and is located on the south side of the property, which is vacant. And is not needed for school purposes. The recommendation is for the Johnston County Board of Education to approve this easement.
This is an action item, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the easement for elevated water tank at Archer Lodge Middle School.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wooten,
Second.
second by Ms. Andrews. Any questions or comments for Mr. Moore? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 6-0.
My second item is for a right-of-way purchase out in front of the Simpson Building here. This is part of the NCDOT I-5972 project, which is to improve the interchange at I-95 and US 70 Business. Construction is on track to begin in early 2022. A major part of this project is to replace the overpass bridge of 95 and to widen 70 Business out here to four lanes. This project requires the purchase of 0.434 acres in front of the Simpson Building. The existing right-of-way will be extended back onto our property 40 feet. It varies as it moves along, but roughly 40 feet. This is to add a right turn lane, and also will provide a low sloping ditch that is easier to mow. The purchase does leave the required 30 feet of setback in front of our building, and most importantly, it does not impact the Carolyn Ennis Memorial Stone and live oak tree located out front. The recommendation is to accept the settlement of $108,750. This includes an appraised amount for the property of $104,750 plus $4,000 to relocate an existing backflow preventer. After completion, the driveways will be tied in with the new roadway, and all disturbed area will be graded, dressed up, and seeded. Staff is in agreement with the appraised value and recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. I'll entertain a motion to approve the NCDOT right-of-way purchase.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wooten, second by Mr. Carroll. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 6-0.
That's all I have.
Mr. Vetrano. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Yes, sir. Good evening again, everyone. On behalf of the superintendent, sharing some recommendations from him to this board. I will share those with you at this time. We have two principal recommendations. They will be issued 2-year contracts July 14th through June 30th of 2023. The first is Ms. Patsy Elrod to be named principal of the new virtual academy. The second is Ms. Kelly Holland to be named principal of Glendale Kinley Elementary. And then we have 4 central administrator recommendations. They will each be given 2-year contracts. Those start dates are to be determined. The first is Pam Batchelor, Executive Director of Instructional Technology, Christina Benson, Director of Certified Personnel, Christopher Godwin, Executive Director of Technology, and Robert Simpkins, Benefits Administrator. So those are recommendations to this board, and this is an action item.
Thank you, Mr. Vetrano. I'll entertain a motion to approve these 6 individuals that Mr. Vetrano just named for us.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Andrews,
Second.
second by Ms. Sessoms. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vetrano. Next item is, we're still not at 6 o'clock. We will do our at 6 o'clock, we'll hold our public comment. We're at the end of our agenda for this evening. Our next board meeting will be Tuesday, August 10th, 2021, 4 p.m., closed session, 5 p.m., open session. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to have a break, and we will break until 6 o'clock.
So moved.
All right. We have a second? Tonight, we have 23 speakers signed up for public comment. Citizens who have signed up to address the board during public comment will be called upon as they signed up and will have 3 minutes to address the board. The board suggests that specific personnel or student matters be addressed to the school principal, the Johnston County Public School System official responsible for the program or facility, or to the superintendent, and are not appropriate for this setting. I would also ask that everyone be respectful during the meeting. Anyone who disrupts meeting may be asked to leave. At this time, also, I'd like to let everyone know, at this time, this is public comment. We do not respond to public comment. We will take that under advisement and move forward with that. So at this time, I will call on our first speaker tonight, Caroline Slovic. Did I get it right?
Sovic.
I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Better than the last time. You're getting there. Okay. Hello, board. My name is Caroline Miklasovic, and I'm here yet again to discuss parents' choice in regards to the mask mandate and also critical race theory. Joining this fight as a parent, I can now see how frustrating it is when you come to a meeting in mass numbers, speak from your heart, and nothing, not even a discussion, ensues after. It has been 30 days since I last spoke with you, and nothing has happened between this meeting and last, unlike Harnett and Rowan counties. I'm not going to stand here and discuss data with you because I'd hoped that you all had read the science regarding COVID in children. However, the fact that you all continue to hide behind Cooper and his mandate anyway shows your disregard for the physical and mental health of the students, as well as your lack of respect for the parents of JoCo. Our children have been vastly underserved and undereducated this past year due to the lockdown and mask mandate, and you all want to continue down the same path as last year. Why have there been zero discussions of the mask mandate or even parents' choice until 45 minutes ago? Why has the board not blatantly come out against CRT in children's classrooms? Before this school year begins, I pray you all have an epiphany that we need to get back to the basics where teachers teach math, science, reading, and social studies without interjecting their personal opinions of religion, race, sex, and/or politics into the mix. I pray that God allows you to feel what it's like to walk in a parent's shoes who has no authority over their children's health choices right now. I pray that God gives you the understanding that a teacher cannot in good conscience see two students who are living in the same conditions at home and then say just because of the color of their skin that one student's struggles matters and one doesn't. I pray God stirs in your heart a feeling of unease because of the lack of inaction that's taken place. Lastly, let me circle back to the fact that Fauci lied and his emails prove it. The fact we are at this board meeting discussing the mandate and our leading doctor has lied. Governor Cooper was at the hockey game, sitting there maskless. And you all sit here in front of us maskless and not socially distanced, goes to show how power hungry this has become. And make no mistake, there is no greater choice or force than a group of parents fighting for the right to do what is best for their children. So I say this loud and clear. We have to effect change in regards of parents' choice for the mask mandate.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Ms. Priscilla Wilson.
Hi. Thank you for having me speak today. I've come here along with much anxiety of public speaking, but my voice needs to be heard along with others that are too afraid to speak or just can't be here. I'm a proud North Carolina resident of 3 years now and amazingly lucky to have moved my family to the Johnston County school system, which has amazing teachers that I love very much. I grew up in a very diverse community in Massachusetts and have never looked and never felt like I had to judge anyone by race or religion because we had such a mix of everybody. And here we are in 2021 doing just the same, taking steps back decades. The CRT, teaching equality, whatever it's named under, my children I don't want participating in. I send my kids to this great public school system I moved all the way here to learn about math, science, English, arts, and build strong social skills and relationships. Knowing that my kids will be in a classroom and taught that white supremacy is woven into our history and actually here today, and that they simply, because of their color of their skin, are either oppressors, or if they are black, they are oppressed. It's absolutely heinous, which is a way to create division and hate of people in our country, which I teach my children at home not to do. What's happening to lifting every man, woman, and child up, no matter their background, and tell them that their opportunities are limitless, or that their hard work is where opportunities lie, and not based on privilege or the color of their skin. Someone I recently come to admire very much, our own North Carolina Lieutenant Governor, Mark Robinson. Those of you who do not know, he had a very sad upbringing, and he worked, hard work and perseverance, and look at him now. Grew up with nothing and worked to achieve everything and give back. Why not teach inspiration? Inspiration of people from all backgrounds. Our country is a great free country with so much opportunity. This is why so many people want to immigrate here. Do we have the best history? Absolutely not. But history needs to be taught correctly, without hate, so we can learn from our mistakes and our successes. I don't want to send my kids to school for the CRT, and has no right being in the public school system. I want them to be educated well, and I want the kids, not just mine, to be taught what matters is character, not race or religious choices. I really want to stay here, and I have my dream home in North Carolina. I love the people in North Carolina. I love the schools. I love the teachers. But now we're considering moving out of state because I don't want to send my kids to school to learn this. Please, as our school board, I just ask for you to fight for our kids, for have a proper education, to be taught that they can be anything they want to be. Their dreams are a reality with hard work and determination, no matter their socioeconomical status, race, or religion. Oh, crap. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Dale Lands.
Thanks to Superintendent Bracey, Chairman Sutton, and the board for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. First, I want to say that I'm here as a concerned citizen of Johnston County and a resident of Johnston County. I'm also the co-founder of an advocacy group called CAG, Citizens Advocates for Accountable Government, here in Johnston County. I'm also a grandfather of 3 wonderful kids that may end up in Johnston County schools one day. This year, the oldest is going to school, but not to public school because of the garbage that is being taught in our schools. Luckily, we have that option. Some members of this board, including Dr. Bracey and Chairman Sutton, stood in front of the county council and all of Johnston County and told all of us, CRT is not in our schools in any form, and if anyone knows of an instant it is there, please bring it to their attention. So I've done so on several occasions, and the only response I have received is from Dr. Bracey, addressing one of the instances presented. I'm here to tell you the citizens of this county and the group that I lead are not accepting superficial responses or no responses at all to these issues. Either address this now or we will fight to replace every single one of you. We're not going to accept an incongruous amendment like you guys approved earlier today that does not address the root cause of the racist teachings. My suggestion to you as representatives of the residents of this county is that you get your heads together and pass a policy that is strong, detailed, meticulous, and negates any possibility of this racist garbage being taught here ever again. There are many smart people on this board and in this county that can help. If you need help with it, ask somebody. They'll be happy to. If you choose not to take a stand now and a strong stand, we will come for your seats. We will fight every step of the way to get you removed from this board, and we will fight to prevent you from ever holding an elected office in this county or this state again. This is the warning that we are coming for your seats if you don't start producing votes that reflect the constituents that put you in these offices. Stand up for the kids now, or those same constituents will replace you. And if you think I'm just talking for a few citizens that won't fall in line with your opinions, you certainly have the right to that opinion, but you are mistaken. We, the citizens of this county that are marching in the parking lot, 100 or more out there in the parking lot, you'll see that on the news later if you haven't already seen it. We're fed up with the lackluster performances of late, and we're coming for your seats if the results of the next few weeks do not reflect our wishes. I'll leave you with this. create a real policy against these racist teachings, not a minimal amendment with no teeth. We don't need dictatorship training in morals and social theories taught to our kids. Stick to what the schools should be doing: reading, writing, math, science, and history. That's it. Teach American educational values, period. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Miss Kara Chester.
Thank you for letting me speak tonight. There are a lot of parents in Johnston County that are losing faith in the public school system. This is evidenced by the decline in public school enrollment for the 21-22 school year, despite an increasing population. Private school and charter school is increasing, many of which have wait lists. New homeschool applications are up by just 18% just this month alone. The goal of the public school system and this board, as being an oversight, is to provide a quality education. However, kids are not getting a quality education anymore. Johnston County schools are ranked 157th out of 242 schools in North Carolina. Math and reading scores are well below the state average, which is already low. Several factors are contributing to this decline. There is too much focus on race, equality, sexuality. The focus should be on math, reading, and writing. Kids are being taught racist behaviors by focusing on assumed abilities based on the color of their skin and not their merits. You are trying to make kids equal rather than celebrating their uniqueness. By lowering standards to pass-fail, you are encouraging kids to aim for mediocrity rather than working hard and trying their best. Sexuality and sexual preferences are being taught at a very young age. Current reading curriculums in Johnston County elementary schools, including books such as From Archie to Zach, a story of two young boys who secretly love each other, and Sparkle Boy, a story about a boy who likes to dress as a girl. These are private matters that should be taught by the parents in their home and not at school. Lastly, parents are concerned about making kids wear masks in school. There are several studies that indicate that long-term mask wearing is detrimental to kids, not only physically, but mentally as well. If parents want their kids to wear a mask, that is fine. Give parents the right to choose what is right for their kids. Make masks optional. Stand up to Governor Cooper and make masks optional. Take a stand just as the Harnett County and Rowan County school boards have done as well. In closing, I would like to remind you that you were hired by us, we the people of Johnston County. And right now, we the people of Johnston County are not happy with how things are being run in the Johnston County public schools. Please listen to our concerns and take actions to correct these concerns. What we do today will have lasting impacts on our future in our country. Please do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Miss Angie Barber.
Good evening. It's great to see all of you, and I took this part out of my speech, but I'm going to give Dr. Bracy a public props on bringing Dr. Brett to this county to help get us out of a financial disaster that many of us have kind of forgotten. So that was the first part of my speech. So thank you, Dr. Brett, for being a financial genius. It's great to see you all. As most of you know, I am a 20-year veteran here, an educator in Johnston County Schools. And I want to give a shout out to all the administrators that are organizing our summer learning program right now. Without this summer learning program, I don't know what we would do. I'm hoping that it helps our students get to Dr. Bracy's goal of every school meeting an A, B, or C by the end of the 23-24 school year. With that being said, I'm here to tell you that the masks have to go. That's why I'm here. I don't have all the fancy data and statistics to show you. The only thing I have are the current math EOG scores. And with that, you guys have seen them, and they reflect that most students do not learn well virtually. They also reflect that masks are getting in the way of learning. I'm not sure what your moneymaker is, but mine's my smile. And with that being said, with smiles, you make connections. And with connections, you get learning to take place. That's been a struggle this year. So, I'm sharing this because I know the House passed the bill to the Senate. The Senate's going to pass it to you. You're going to get to make a decision one day. The masks need to be gone, or they need to be optional. In regards to critical race theory, it is not intended for the K-12 classroom setting. It is intended for students at the university level. That was why it was made. Children are very impressionable. I have lots of power. Yes, as a teacher, I am supposed to be the hero in that classroom. Now, what happens when I begin to abuse my power as an educator? Could you imagine 1,000 little Angies running around here? If you know me, you may or may not think that's a really good idea. Just ask my daddy. I hope he's watching. The point I'm trying to drill is that as a teacher, it is our job to teach. Also, to guide students in learning how to treat others with respect and with fairness. Some don't learn this at home, so we have to guide them. It's a teacher's job to not make one student feel less value than another based on events that occurred in the past. We learn from those, we move forward. We don't tear down, we build up. I think it's your duty to create a policy that prevents educators from abusing their power. It's a teacher's responsibility, it's my responsibility to remain unbiased in the classroom, to use my superpower to create students that are ready to compete in a global economy. If teachers have a sole purpose of pushing any sort of agenda in the classroom, then there should be consequences. And I'm a teacher and I'm saying it. Might bite me in the tail one day. I believe it's the board's job to create criteria to enforce this policy, and all children should be treated fairly and with the same respect. And anyone that assumes anything any different, well, we all know what making assumptions can make us look like. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Angie. Next, we have, is it Jill? Yes. Thank you. Welcome.
My name is Jill Bergener. I'm a certified biological safety professional, and I'm a registered biological safety professional. You probably haven't heard of that profession because there's only a few people who have that. I've worked in high containment labs, protecting scientists with infectious materials, highly infectious materials. I am proud to say that no one under my supervision ever was infected or died. Now, regarding masks, these masks, for what you're trying to do, are absolutely useless. It's like throwing sand in a chain link fence to try to stop a virus. Surgical masks were designed to be used by surgeons so they don't slobber on their patients when they're in the surgical field. They do not prevent transmission of viruses, period. End of discussion. I know exactly where this coronavirus started, which labs it went through, how it got to Wuhan. I know everything about it. If you're interested, I'd be happy to tell you, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to tell you that it's wrong to require useless personal protective equipment, and you don't have it. There is no standards. What you're doing to people, I mean, this is a political agenda. There is no science behind this, and I can tell you right now that the scientists that do come out for it, they are paid, and scientists are a lot cheaper to bribe than a lot of our politicians. I've been around it, I know it. Okay, and you can get them to say anything you want, just like we can get our politicians to say anything we want with enough money, right? All right, so the second thing is the CRT is just, it's teaching people to hate one another. It's teaching them to be divisive. We need to unify people. We're all Americans. We need to unify. We do not need to teach them how to separate people by race, ethnicity, religion, any other way. We need to unify and come together as Americans. Okay, we are living in the most amazing times in history right now. Unprecedented. If I challenge everyone to look up the things I've said and to come to their own conclusions, because what I've said about those masks is absolutely true. And I am more than happy to provide references to anything that I said up here. And I hope you people will follow the real science and protect the children properly, not by wearing masks, which are absolutely, fundamentally useless. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. John Gregory.
Gracias, muchas gracias por la oportunidad de hablar con ustedes y gracias por su servicio. Okay, I'm obviously, if you listen to me, I'm not Spanish. You know, I'm just an old country boy, grew up in Harnett, Johnston County, but I'm a people person. I love people. I've been an AU basketball coach, I've been a rec coach, you know, but what I hate is what I see going on in this country. You know, I hate the divisiveness. I don't mind the debate. We need debate. There's been division in this country since it was founded, and that's the American way. And we need that if we're going to continue on and progress. But what we are talking about with CRT is regression. You know, I've seen racism, and I'm not a denier at all. My son, my oldest son, played on an all-minority basketball team, and where he was the only white kid, and I saw blatant racism in a mall down in Fayetteville. Infuriated me. But I want to get that behind us. And I look at CRT the way I've seen it, and maybe we need this for an open session later for us to discuss amongst ourselves. But I see it as going to be more divisive. And I understand we want equal outcome, and that's admirable. But you're never going to accomplish equal outcome. But what we want is the best outcome for each of our students. And right now, be blatantly honest, Johnston County schools are failing our students. Their progression scores have been going down continuously since 2010. Graduation rate, yeah, it's up from 79% up to, what is it now, 93%. But what are they getting? Are they ready for college? Maybe some of them don't want to go to college. Maybe they want to trade. Are they ready to get out there and do a budget? Why is it that having a vocational class is so wrong? Everybody behind me, I think we all want what's best for our kids. And we got to get them ready to compete with the world. Math scores in China are 600. When they start testing all these ACT and SAT, they're 600. You know what our math scores are? They're 487. So we can have discussions amongst ourselves, but we all Americans, and that ends in can. And we can do it together, but we don't need to CRT. I mean, are we going to abolish the Civil Rights Act of 1964 so we can implement it? Are we going to throw out the 14th Amendment? We're going to re-amend the Constitution in order to pass it? Anyway, again, thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Next, we have Mr. Brett McWhister. They spelled it wrong. I apologize.
I hate public speaking, but yet I'm here. Oh, Dr. Bracy and members of the board, thank you for all your service to Johnston County and to the children of Johnston County. My name is Brett McWhorter. I am a husband and father of a 3-year-old little boy and a 1-year-old little girl who I am charged with educating along with my wife. Whether or not that is Johnston County Public Schools remains to be seen. But nevertheless, I'm here for their care as well as my neighbors. I understand this board is not responsible for the state's decisions, what passed or what didn't pass. But this board did state that at the county's commissioners meeting last month that the board is committed to opposing divisive rhetoric in our schools. Thank you. But what you also stated in the meeting, and even now, tonight, was that this board affirms that it would follow the state standards, whatever those standards be, and come down. Folks, the state standards are the problem. I cannot make that any more clear. Please read them if you haven't. They're on TPI's website. So I have to ask myself the question, why play ball this way? And I do think that it really just boils down, and forgive me for assuming, but I think it's fear. I think you're afraid of losing money. And I can understand that because the state pays for most of the kids. But understand that the propaganda coming from CRT for the sake of social engineering these kids, not for a better education, but to divide us, is threatening our future and the future of America itself. I heard the commissioner's reply, Johnston County schools will be funded, they said. They're going to do it. So have some courage. Base your own convictions, for the people of Johnston County will support you. If you support us in opposing this, stand up, tell the state no, please, for the sake of the children. We cannot have any further division in America. We're already divided enough between mask and critical race theory and everything else that divides us. I thought with my parents' generation that we would be under a unified people, but that's not the case. And for the sake of equity, I want to get to this real quick. For the sake of equity, I need a politician to tell me, when did we go from equality to equity? Equity requires inequalities to be implemented in order to be effective, to achieve their goals. Anyone that uses the word equity, I want to talk to and question. I want equality, I don't want equity, and I don't want my kids discriminated against. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McWhorter. Next is Megan. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. My eyes are wide open tonight. It's my first time participating, so thank you for having me. I appreciate your service to the community at large and to every individual that walks through those school doors every day. I was a volunteer last year, well, 2 years ago, helping a second grader learn to read, so I see that the teachers they need all the volunteers and support they can get. I have a rising fourth grader and first grader. Last year showed me how much the classroom truly benefits our children, especially after being a volunteer myself. We had great teachers last year. They did an amazing job, but my oldest son's growth was almost flat. And trying to be an assistant kindergarten teacher and work full-time and all of those things, my kindergartner grew, but my third grader unfortunately took the brunt of me not being able to be that assistant to him as well. I think it's amazing you guys created the virtual academy. I think it gives the parents who want to homeschool access to educators who are trained. I also think it gives families who want to stay away from not just COVID, but other viruses, gives them that flexibility. But I want my kids back in the classroom desperately. I did come here specifically today for the mask mandates to go parents' choice. Johnston County has done a great job of making the vaccine available to all eligible groups for several months at this point. If an individual wanted to get it, they've had the ability, and if they didn't want to get it, I feel like that was an active decision on everybody over 18 at this point. I know that you're going to be making a decision, and I'm glad to hear that, and I hope that you will go for parents' choice. My oldest son has a vision impairment, so wearing glasses doesn't solve the vision impairment. Wearing the mask, fogging, it's dramatic. It is not what's best for him. I know there's kids with speech learning and visual impairments, and this is hindering them. And I feel like enough members of the community have had the choice to get vaccinated or not, so if I'm willing to take the risk and let my children not wear the mask, then let me make that decision. I opted to come to you in person today and not send the form emails that are going around on Facebook, and I hope you appreciate that. That extreme desire that I have. I believe children thrive in routine. I believe they thrive in the classroom. And I feel, like you said, they thrive when they see their teacher smile so much. Even in one-on-ones on virtual, my kids lit up to see their teachers proud of them. So please let them see their teacher smiles. I'm begging you for that. Thank you. And I plan to learn more about CRT because I had no idea that was going on.
Thank you. Next, we have Miss Emily Scott.
Hello. I am a high school English teacher. So today I feel moved to speak about stories. Whether we subscribe to a religion or not, many of us live according to the examples set before us in stories. One book I have heard referenced in this room time and again is the Bible. One skill we practice in my classroom is identifying the themes of stories. Theme is a universal idea that can be taken away from a work of art, a piece of literature, or even a period of history. I recently heard one of my favorite modern thinkers, Glennon Doyle, explain this theme of Jesus' story. Jesus consistently did three things. First, he identified the marginalized people in his community. He spoke to them, sat with them, and ate with them. Second, he stood between those marginalized people and the stone throwers. Third, he walked with those marginalized people toward the oppressive power structure to inspire change, love, and freedom for all people. If you are a person who finds inspiration in this story, I ask you to examine where you stand as you make policy decisions. Are you looking for the marginalized people in our community, such as our LGBTQ staff and students, or our staff and students of color? Or are you standing with the stone throwers, who are aiming to erase the lived experiences of marginalized groups by removing their stories from our classrooms and our libraries? As you reflect, I'd like to leave you with my favorite theme from this story. It's never too late to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jeannie Peterson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the school board. I'm a high school history teacher, been teaching for 8 years. Politics have entered my classroom, and it wasn't me who put them there. I had never heard of the term critical race theory until I began reading accusations on social media that my colleagues and I are brainwashing our students to think a certain way. It's funny because if I had that power, I would brainwash them to write their names on their paper. Teaching multi-perspective history is not critical race theory. House Bill 324 or any school board policy ban should not affect what is taught, since critical race theory is not in schools. However, the way the House bill is written, it's not actually about critical race theory, it's about people's reactions and feelings. Any policy using the language presented in House Bill 324 is going to give politically fueled, outraged community the authority to complain to administration about what we're teaching, claiming that it makes their child feel bad, even if what we taught wasn't critical race theory. I get it, like acknowledging racism in history, teaching multi-perspective history makes some people feel uncomfortable. And I wager it's not the students. But my job as a history teacher isn't telling anyone how they should feel about the past. That's not what we do. Many here are upset because what is taught today is different from what was taught when they were in school. We don't teach out of textbooks anymore. We have the internet, which means with one click of a button, we have an entire array of primary documents. We read journals, letters, speeches. We view photos and archival footage. Students now get a complete analysis of a historical period with various points of view, learning from accounts directly from the source. A teacher's job is to give students these materials and let them figure out what they believe on their own terms. Anti-critical race theory policy will instill fear of hurting feelings to the point that teachers will be pressured to censor history. It will limit the primary documents being used. It will limit the amount of time spent on Black, Hispanic, Asian, and Native American history. Teachers will be forced to choose to share only one side of a very, very complex story. This would be a disservice to our students, especially those of color. The House bill claims that is ensuring non-discrimination in schools, recognizing equality and rights of all persons, but if that were true, it would not pressure teachers to stay away from multi-perspective history. Because let us all remember we have diverse populations in our schools, and we should not allow the feelings of one population to override those of another. None of us should have the authority to choose what history should be taught and what history should be forgotten. History does not have a political agenda. It's just simply what happened, what different people thought and felt at that time. Teachers already have a difficult job. I ask that the Johnston County Commissioners and school board members not make it harder by turning our classrooms into a political arena. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Miss April Lee.
Good evening, Dr. Bracy, Chairman Sutton, Madam Vice Chair Sessoms, and members of the board. I'm April Lee, a teacher in Johnston County Public Schools, a mother of children who attend our schools, and a lifelong resident of Johnston County. I'm also president of Johnston County Association of Educators. I want to first address equality versus equity. Equality means, sorry, just lost my place, that everyone gets the same thing. So that means our English language learners and our students with disabilities, our students who live in poverty, should get exactly the same things as the students who don't need additional supports. As a classroom teacher, that approach makes no sense, and in many cases is actually illegal. Equity is when each student gets what they need to be successful, whether that's modifications or accommodations or a free or reduced price meal. Equity simply acknowledges that we don't all start at the same place, but we are given the opportunity to finish successfully. I want to next address the public outrage over critical race theory. As most of you know, I've argued that this is a non-issue. It is a non-issue. It is a distractor from the real issues in public education, and it is a vehicle for certain candidates to build a base for the 2022 election based on dog whistle issues. Where was your outrage when our legislature cut over 7,000 teacher-assisted positions beginning in 2013, directly impacting instruction in our K-3 classrooms? Where was your outrage when the legislature removed class size caps in grades 4 through 12 so that we have classes of 40-plus children in our schools? Where was your outrage when our legislature cut funding for textbooks to 25% of its former budget and passed the cost down to our local commissioners and boards of education? Where was your outrage when our legislatures removed master's pay for North Carolina teachers? Where was your outrage when our classified staff were denied the $15 an hour that all other state employees were given in 2018? Will you show up with me on Jones Street to talk about these issues? If this is the first time that you have been to a school board meeting, if this is the first time you have been outraged, you really need to ask yourself why. Our kids deserve a full history of our country and the world. I love our country, but ignoring its flaws, both past and present, is no way to pass down our legacy or preserve democracy as we know it. Our kids deserve to see themselves and their culture in every classroom. And I'm going to say this about the policy. This is not in my script, but very quickly. 5100 is too vague, and it is going to incite witch hunts for teachers. So I need you to be prepared, and I need you to be prepared for us to fight back. It is unfair, and it's terrible. You've done a disservice to us.
Thank you, Ms. Lee.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Rick Mercier.
Good afternoon or evening, board members and Dr. Bracy. It was a pleasure to stand out there in the parking lot for a couple hours and shed some pounds. I think all of us, we kind of knew that it was going to come to this, right? Last year, we started some important conversations about race in this country. I was especially proud at that time that in Clayton, it was students who led some of those conversations and brought adults out, brought people of different races, different backgrounds out. It was good. It was a special happening. But I think it was just a matter of time before there was a backlash. When demagogues and opportunists would stoke racial anger and claim others are creating divisions, when they would bully others and claim that they and their ilk are the victims, when they would traffic in falsehoods and claim that they are the defenders of truth. Thanks to a sleazy politician and developer who owes his seat to some shady business that his son helped bankroll, right? We were threatened with having our schools defunded unless we enacted a vague, unnecessary policy that will confuse, intimidate, and demoralize our teachers. No doubt driving away some of the best of them and making it very difficult to attract good new talent. Parenthetically, I just heard that you all have 378 vacancies. Is that not the case? Is that not the case? Now, we know we have real challenges here, right? Low achievement, achievement gaps, overcrowding, underfunding, low teacher morale, wholly, completely inadequate levels of TAs and nurses in our schools. But rather than addressing those real challenges, we're arguing over something that's entirely made up, right? Based on talking points by national media figures who have spent the last 5-6 years normalizing white nationalism. You know who some of those people are. Locally, this is being championed, as I said, by a sleazy politician, by a race-baiting local news outlet, I don't know if he's here, by some bottom-feeding political opportunists among us. Board members, Dr. Bracey too, sir, I want to remind you that you don't operate this school system, and we, the residents of this county, do not fund it with our tax dollars to cater to the needs of the fragile, the bitter, the rage-addicted adults among us. We run it to meet the needs of young people who need to understand themselves, of the world they live in, so that they might be able to craft solutions that clearly us adults have had trouble coming up with, right? And in some cases, it would seem intentionally. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mrs. Peterson.
Hello. Senkova, to go back and to learn and retrieve. I just want to say that. Like many others here, I want to reiterate that CRT is not a thing in K through 12. CRT is a theory explaining that race is a social construct used against people of color. It holds that the United States is inherently racist due to the creation of economic, political, and social inequalities between whites and non-whites. It is used in higher education, not K-12. To believe that it is to listen to a dog whistle of James Crow Esquire tactics, promoted by extremists trying to divide people from uniting together. The real argument should be, why are our schools in the conditions that they're in? Where's the money? And why don't our teachers have what they need? But I digress. The argument over CRT is nonsense. What is it that people are afraid our children are learning? Maybe it's that the Civil War was really about slavery. Abraham Lincoln didn't free the slaves. And the Confederacy is full of losers that refuse to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and contribute anything to this society that does not involve hatred and supremacist views. Or maybe it's that up until recently, I could not be standing here because there was a sign on Business 70 saying that this was KKK country. Maybe it's that. Or maybe that to this day it's not a federal crime to lynch people like me. Maybe it's that, I'm not sure. Or that the very land that we stand on was stolen by indigenous people, or stolen from indigenous people. Maybe it's that, I'm not sure. But to put a policy against the truth is in clear violation of our children's constitutional rights. To deny the truth and to teach inaccurate information is wrong. I would also like to say that critical race theory was never a thing, and that the mere fact that we're having this argument right now is to prove that the division has worked. People are not reading, they're not paying attention. To quote Lyndon B. Johnson, since we're here, he says, if you can convince the lowest white man that he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. Heck, give him someone to look down upon and he'll open his pockets for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Miss Linda Eldridge.
Hello. Thank you, Board. Love trumps hate. We in Johnston County have a unique history. The last major battle of the Civil War occurred in Johnston County at Bentonville. We are a county that is still known as being quite racist. And when we speak of diversity of our students, immigrants coming in, the county growing, yet the citizens of Johnston County still elected an all-white men board of commissioners. All the Johnston County commissioners are white men. Where's the diversity there? So if we don't have these honest conversations about our history, then how do we know how to move forward and not to repeat those same things? CRT and honestly discussing what happened is not about dividing us, it's about learning from it. Train a child to grow up and respect other people. You're going to dislike me because God chose to give me my tan at birth? Doesn't make any sense. So we must talk about uncomfortable things. We must get in good trouble. Children are taught racism, and that's usually by adults. But CRT is not about being divisive. It's about coming together and learning about each other. And not for the white students to feel that they're being picked on for what maybe their ancestors did or did not do. So we need to be open-minded. We are the neighboring county to Wake. Raleigh-Durham Chapel Hill is just literally known around the country and the world. Progressive. Look at it booming economically. There are people that don't want to really work in Johnston County. You may have experienced that with so many teacher vacancies. Well, we still have such a reputation of being racist. The Confederates lost the Civil War. The Union won in Johnston County. We need to be more progressive thinking. We need to have these conversations and stop looking like backwards people in Johnston County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. John Salupa.
Thank you all. Wow, it was hot out there. 5 hours, but I'm glad to be here. I would like to start off with just speaking about integrity, honesty, doing right, believing that you can make a difference. And I got to be honest with you, it sickens me to be here before you today. Ron Johnson, Lynn Andrews, honesty, integrity, you've shown it, you've proved it. I asked Lynn Andrews a question one time, June 21st, what is equity? She told me exactly. She said, equity is nothing to do with critical race theory. It's simply about whether you're rich or whether you're poor, you get the same exact education. That's respectable. We come here, she admitted that there was critical race theory modules being taught in Johnston County, and she was looking to get them out. She was going to put her effort to move them out of our school district. We go to the commissioners meeting, June 21st, and I apologize because I have respect for everybody, but I have to say, call it as it is. The commissioners asked both Todd Sutton and Superintendent Bracey, is critical race theory being taught in Johnston County? And they said no. So for $7.9 million, you sold your soul, and that is not acceptable. Like I said, it hurts because the Board of Education is not to be political. It's to teach our children and give them the opportunity they deserve to be better human beings. And what you all are trying to do is make a political statement that should not exist for a 2-year-old to a 16-year-old. Now, Dr. Bracey, did critical race theory hold you back? You're an intelligent, well-rounded, respectable man. You got a superintendent job at Sampson County. You know something? I'm not even going to blame you, but we have members of our group that didn't like you. But I'm sure there's other reasons, and they let you go. But America is good. America is good. Johnston County gave you an opportunity to be hired here. Apparently, there was $1 million spent on the national search, and they thought you were the best. And you know something? You're going to prove it to us. You said you are. You're going to change the 21 D&F schools. You're going to get those 3 schools that are going to the state back into our curriculum. You're going to bring, like Mr. Johnson said, Johnston County back up to the 3rd. But we'd like to see it. We'd like to see your plan.
Mr. Salupa, thank you. Your 3 minutes is up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to say I'm John Salupo. I'm Citizen Advocates for Accountable Government. Thanks to this meeting, we probably tripled our membership. There's going to be a lot of vacancies that are going to be filled. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Walker.
I initially planned on speaking tonight about how JCPS is failing, how unrestrained growth is affecting this county's school, the unmasking of our children, and eliminating the anti-American training and propaganda in our education system. However, I came to the conclusion that it matters nothing to most of you what I or anyone else in this county thinks, regardless of our position on the issues. I'd like to know if anyone on this board disagrees with this quote. Raise your hand if you disagree. This seat belongs to the people of Johnston County, not me. Good. That quote came from Chairman Sutton in 2017 upon his appointment to the board, filling a vacancy after he finished 1 spot from being elected in 2016. Then this year, Chairman Sutton and the board decided to completely disregard the voice of the people when filling a vacancy. What happened, Mr. Chairman? To the rest of the board outside of Mr. Johnson and Mr. Byrd, who's not here, do you all believe that quote I just read to you is the truth? Mr. Byrd, who's not here, I included him though in here, I would like to clarify this is not an attack on you. This is about the actions of those who blatantly and disgracefully ignored the voices of 41,000 people, and even more after the charade in February. Considering how every single one of you became members of this board, other than Mr. Byrd, any process determining how to fill the vacancy, other than using the election results of 2020 in this case, was shameful. You thought we'd forget, didn't you? Well, we didn't. Not me, not many people that I know from all sides of the political spectrum. Our election process is a key tenet in securing our freedoms, our voices, and in this case, the education system of our children. How in the world are we supposed to entrust you with making decisions when it comes to writing the Johnston County Public Schools, standing up against the unrestrained growth of the county affecting our schools, the unmasking of our children, or the propaganda in our schools if you can't make the simple decision to respect our votes and our voices? In other words, doing the right thing. We can't trust you. You want to prove me wrong? By Friday, I would like all of you to make a public statement clarifying your position on 1, filling the vacancy created by Ms. Zukowski's resignation, 2, how unrestrained growth is affecting our schools, 3, unmasking our children, and 4, how to move forward in dealing with destructive anti-American political propaganda being pushed in public schools. It's time to be accountable. Show you are capable, show you hear the people, or resign. This is not the time for political games. This is about our children. This is time for leadership, which I thank you, Mr. Johnston, for providing. Thank you, and God bless.
Next, Mr. Glenn McCullen.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'd like to say I'm a pastor. I pastor the Benson Pentecostal Baptist Church. Also, I'm a veteran. I come in to address considering the critical race theory, and I'm just speak from my heart like it is. That it's just like we take, for instance, everyone in this room, if you're a parent, grandparent, you love your children. You would give your life for your children. It's just back recently in Wake County when the zebra cobra was out roaming around, and you would just be, instance, if you were in the yard where that cobra was and your child was in that yard, just take it for what it is. And you see your child going over to that snake and saying, how pretty, how pretty. The immediate thing in your life, because you cared for that child, you would grab that child out of the arms of danger, even if it meant you. And you would say it, and they begin to explain, why? What's wrong with it? It's pretty. It's a zebra cover. It's pretty. And then you begin to explain to your child, it's not about the color. It's about what's behind it. It's about the poison. If that snake would bite you, it could put you in the hospital or it could take your life. This is the same thing. A lot of things, this critical race theory looks good. It looks good from the outside, but on the inside, it's poison. It's not about race. If you study and know history and you look back, I served during the time it was not popular that we were hated, but I know this for a fact as a child of God. It's not about the race. It's about our children. If we love them, that we're going to stand for them. We're not supposed to be teaching anything that's going to bring more race dividing. And to realize when we look, and it's just like the song that kids used to sing in the church, Jesus loves all the little children in the world, red, yellow, black, or white. They're precious in His sight. It don't matter what color their skin is. And I can tell you today, I've got brothers and sisters in all colors that love me and I love them. But my concern is what's happening to our kids. And if you see or hear me preach in a church, you'll hear the same thing, that it's not about the race. I don't care about the color of your skin. Our God created us all. He died for all of us. And when Jesus took the little children, when the apostles didn't want Him, and they said they thought they were bothering Him, and all of a sudden, He says, let them come. He set them upon His knee, and He said this, as such is the kingdom of heaven, as a little one. This is not about race. It's not about you or me. It's about our children, if we love them. And the country's divided, and it's not race that's dividing, it's Marxism that I stood against and stand against now. And all I can say is that we're praying for y'all to do the right thing and not have hatred in our hearts, but have the love of Jesus Christ. And the thing that I am concerned about more in Johnston County is not only our schools, that we love you, we're supporting you, but look after our kids. Every pastor in Johnston County should be here supporting each and every one because you love them children. But where are they at? They have no backbone. They need more Ezekiels, Zacharias. They need more Jeremiahs that'll stand up and say, we're here. Some told me we can't talk this in the church because I said, if you love people, don't care what the color of skin is, you would tell them what's right from the Word of God. I say thank you, continue on, and our prayers are with you. We don't hate you, and I don't have a bone with anyone. I'm just concerned about our kids and about how you would lead them and look after them. We're giving them to you. Please look after them and do the right thing for all of us. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Scott McGee next. Hey. Okay, thank you. Scott McGee.
Jessica.
Okay, we got Scott right before you. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. Is Mr. Scott? That's okay. Mr. Scott McGee.
I echo Mr. Glenn McCullen's the message he just preached here. My name is James Scott McGee. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I don't have a title. I've been known as John the Baptist. If you've seen anybody running around with a bullhorn, and some people call it a feed sack or tobacco sheet, I've been all over Johnston County because that's what God's asked me to do, spreading the gospel and the outreach in our communities. In southeast Raleigh, I've been all over Raleigh. I work up there, but I stand here today as a follower and a warrior for my Jesus, fighting for what's right. And it's not about skin color. I understand we have history. The Confederate monuments, we have history we need to study, and we don't need to make that mistake again. We don't need to make that mistake again of the Civil War. But I want to speak about our kids with the mask mandate. I think it's been discussed and discussed and discussed. It needs to be voted on tonight. There needs to be a decision made tonight. Do away with the mask. Let mama and daddy decide whether our kids in Johnston County wear a mask or not. I believe that's a strong statement. CRT, critical race theory. I'm going to say it don't exist. If it does, please bring it to my feet. I'm not an educated man, but bring it to my feet. Let's talk about it. CRT does not exist. Bring it. Critical race theory, last time I checked, theory is not true. It's a theory. But I'm going to say my Jesus, and I'm 61 years old. I've been as wicked as they come. I'm not perfect, but I know the one who is. We need to do what Jesus would do in this meet and take care of the little children. He said, bring them in. We need to take care of our children, grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren in Johnston County and the whole world. You know, CRT, systemic racism, I think about our lieutenant governor. It don't exist. If it does, show it. Show it, and we need to talk about it. We need to fix that. Folks, we need to fix that. My Jesus don't see skin color. Come on, is anybody, can I get an amen? My Jesus don't see skin color. He sees the heart and soul. Now, I'm labeled, I wear a do-rag. I'm labeled as a biker. Well, if I'm a biker for Jesus. But I stand here and just say that quit talking about skin color and racism disappears. I love everybody, and that's because Jesus Christ lives in my heart. I love everybody. I give you respect, and I expect respect back. So the CRT needs to go away. The masks need to go away. There's been talk about all religions are the same. You know, I fought against that. I fought against all religions are the same. But you know what? And I appreciate you guys listening to me. All religions are the same. They are. I agree with that. They are. Religion is over here. A relationship with my Jesus Christ is on that end of the scale, and he is alive and well today. I serve a living God. So let's do what's right for our children. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Next, we have Miss Jessica Becker.
Racism, we would not have had the Civil Rights Act of 1866, the
We need
Civil
to
Rights
learn
Act of
from that.
1964.
It don't exist.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Miss Jessica Becker.
Hi, I'm Jessica Becker, and I'm a mom and a nurse, and I'm here tonight to ask for masks to be optional. I wasn't going to say anything tonight because I feel like it's been said over and over, but I've been up lots of nights thinking about what I'm going to do for my family, and these thoughts are extreme as moving out of the state. I know I'm not the only one. I have spoken to many of my fellow parents, and they all feel the same way. We do not want our kids to go back to school with masks. We are willing to pull them out and homeschool them, choose private schools, or move. I decided I needed to just come and speak up. So last year with mask mandates, I thought to myself, no, I'm not going to do that to my daughter. She can't wear a mask. She can't wear a necklace or a bracelet because she gets distracted. Also, being a nurse for 10 years, I know what it's like to wear a mask for hours on end, and I knew that was not something I wanted to do for my young daughter. So we chose virtual. It began, and soon after that, I realized that was not for us. There was lots of fights, there was lots of tears, and it was severely impacting my relationship with my daughter. So we decided to allow her to go back to school against my better judgment. The mask was absolutely a distraction for her. She was constantly touching it, fidgeting, and I believe it really hurt her academically. Sorry, I keep losing my spot. And the state of the masks that she would come home in, my God, disgusting. And I would send her with 2 masks every day because I knew it was going to be hard for her to wear it that long. And I didn't have to ask her if she wore that second mask because it was wet and it was crusty, and I know what it had in it, and it was not COVID because we all know that COVID goes right through those simple cloth masks. They're not doing anything for COVID. We did this the entire year because I thought to myself, just hang in there, get through it. It's just for right now. And we did. She wore it, she got through it, but yet here we are again. And I'm up again most nights trying to figure out what I'm going to do because I just can't see myself doing that to her again. But what are my choices? Go and get a full-time job so I can send her to private school, not be home with my kids like I moved here to be, homeschool her? I could do that, but it's certainly not what's best for us because I'm a nurse. I am not a teacher. And I'm her mom. And that creates a lot of struggles because she knows I'm not the teacher, I'm just her mom. We actually love our school. I don't want to take her out, and I don't want to move. I love North Carolina. We moved here from New York because I believed this was where, I'm running out of time. I believed this was where our beliefs lied. I'm starting to question that. Anyway, I ask you tonight to make them optional. I am in no way trying to take the choice away from another family. If they feel like that's what's best for their children, their family, they should absolutely have that option. But I feel like I deserve that same choice for my family. So let us get some sleep.
Thank you.
And let the kids breathe, learn.
Thank you, Ms. Becker.
Bye. Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Serta.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Amanda Serta. I'm a mother of 4 incredible children, 3 of which are school-aged. They will be in 4th grade, 3rd grade, and kindergarten this coming year. Last year definitely threw us a curveball, especially you. And while I do not agree with all the policies you made over this past year, I do believe that you were just trying to make the best decisions that you felt were right at the time. I cannot imagine the amount of stress, the amount of pressure you all have been through and continue to go through, having to make such important and impactful decisions. But as members of this board, you have been elected by us to represent our wishes for our children. We have entrusted you with making decisions that will impact our children for years to come. I don't know how many of you are parents, but I would like to think that you can all sympathize with us and really truly understand our concerns and we are bringing to your attention this evening. As a mother, it is my duty to protect my children from any harm, to teach them about the world, how to use their manners, and how to be kind human beings. It is also my duty to ensure that they have the best education that I can possibly give them. I am here today not just for my own children, but for all children. I am here speaking on behalf of hundreds, maybe even thousands of parents who feel exactly like I do, but are unable to take the time out of their busy schedules to be here. It is time for you to stand up for our children and do what is right. We are begging you. I know that you say your hands are tied or that you have to follow recommendations that are given to you, but you also have to use your own discernment and not just idly comply because you're told to do so. You should be questioning anything that doesn't make sense or that doesn't have concrete factual evidence to back it up. Masks should be optional for all students, not just students who have been vaccinated. There is absolutely no evidence that would suggest that our children are super spreaders of this virus. And those teachers and students who choose to get vaccinated and choose to wear a mask can still do so. The past year has proven that children have a tiny chance of being severely impacted by this virus. But there is evidence that shows that our children are being negatively impacted by the forced mask wearing. And that is why you need to start standing up for our babies. We need you to stop complying to the ridiculous mandates and recommendations that have no factual evidence. We need you to make a decision to get these masks off our children now. It should be a choice left up to students and parents. I can tell you with complete confidence that if masks are still forced this coming year, I will not be sending my children back.
Ms. Serta. Thank you, Ms. Serta.
No, I need one last thing. Will you stand up for our children or will you bow down and idly comply because you're afraid to do what is right?
Thank you, Ms. Serta. Miss Nikki Spain. Is Miss Nikki Spain? Miss Mary Roy.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to come. I am a recent transplant to Johnston County. We retired here a couple of years ago. I did K-12 education outreach to encourage children in their STEM education for the last 10 years of my career. So kids are really important to me. They're our future. So the one thing, there's been a lot of good discussions tonight, but the one thing I wanted to mention, just to make sure it's food for thought as people are considering this, I understand that the Chief of Equity for Johnston County Schools, Crystal Roberts, public speaking is scary, stated in her October 8th, 2020 Racism in Education Forum hosted by the Johnston County Heritage Center, we want to teach people how to behave in an anti-racist way. We really and truly want anti-racist behavior, and that takes action. I think there was another public statement made, and I don't have the site for that, sorry, that we must make Johnston County an an anti-racist school system. And the term anti-racist has been used, it's been extremely popular with Ibram X. Kendi's book on how to be an anti-racist. Sorry. The one thing I wanted to point out, we've come so far in this country, but on page 19 of his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, Kendi wrote, "Racial discrimination is not inherently racist. The only remedy to racist discrimination is anti-racist discrimination. The only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination." All right, it's scary, and I'm going to say there's a little bit of double speak in there because we're using a lot of terms back and forth, so I'm going to repeat it. Racial discrimination is not inherently racist. The only remedy to racist discrimination is anti-racist discrimination. The only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination. We had the 1960s and the civil rights movement. We've made so much progress. Why are we stepping back 50 and 150 years? We have to be aware of this as we're moving forward, that there's a lot of things to be considered. And I think it scares me and a lot of other people. But I will say the thing I found heartening on the Johnston County website, there was a character education that you have listed there, where we talk about self-discipline, respect, perseverance, responsibility, compassion, dependability, fairness, integrity, courage, honesty, loyalty, and patriotism. And we just need to have that in mind as we're going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. We had another individual that had to leave, so our last public speaker for tonight is Paul Mason.
Hey, everybody. So good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. As you say, my name is Paul Mason. I have a grandson in elementary school I'm very proud of. Thank you for your service to our community, because that's what we elected each of you to do, to serve our children and look out for their best interests. 3 minutes goes by fast. I got to get to it. I know this isn't supposed to be an interactive thing, but if you're willing, can I get a show of hands from each of you that believe in the existence of Almighty God? Okay. And I only ask, it might be presumptuous or even socially awkward to ask this question in this political climate. But I only do that because in our state constitution, the very first reason listed for disqualifying somebody from holding public office is denying the existence of God Almighty. And if by admission you all know the Father, you know Jesus, you know how much he loved children, loved them so much that he said it would be better for millstones to be tied around our necks and be cast into the sea than to lead any of them astray or let them fall into sin. And there's many ways that could happen. It could be critical race theory. It could be gender studies. It could be inappropriate sexual education courses that they are not ready for. There's many ways, okay? And all this can cause division amongst our children. It's just a path to destruction is all it is. And at some point, people that allow these curriculum to make their way into our classrooms and those that teach it will be held accountable by a higher power. A room full of angry parents will be the least of anybody's worries at that point in time. And you have to ask yourself, there are people who have worked their way into all levels of government, positions of power, all throughout our entire society. They want to tear us apart. They're trying to tear our country apart, the very fabric of our country. They want us divided. They want us divided by race. They want us divided by gender. They want us divided by religion and class and any other thing you can think of. Because divided, we are weak. We are weak if we're divided. You know, it's only through unity and love and the power of Jesus Christ that we have the power to enact any type of positive, everlasting change. You want to be peacemakers. We need peacemakers because they're blessed. We've got too many people sowing seeds of division. So this is it. I mean, you want to fix our classrooms? Get some Jesus in there. Teach some Bible. Say the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, this is the last bastion of freedom left in the entire world. I mean, we got to figure out a way to make it work. And that's my plea to each and every one of you. You know what? God bless all of you. God bless America.
Thank you. That concludes our public comments for tonight. As I stated earlier, our next board meeting is Tuesday, August 10th, 4 p.m. closed session, 5 p.m. open session. At this time, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Ms. Sessoms. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.